Jah Rastafari, love. Good morning, Your Excellency, President Thabo Mbeki, ex-President Thabo Mbeki, but once a president, always a president, so I shall say Your Excellency, President Thabo Mbeki. It is a joy and an honor for me to address you and to present to you my project, which is called Reggae for Water. My name is Jimmy Anderson, also known as reggae artist Chiozo, from Malawi and Swaziland and Denmark as well. It is a long story, but destiny has me here in your beautiful country, South Africa, and I'm totally in love with it and its people, and I'm also in love with the challenge of facing the challenges that the people face here. It is a duty, a moral duty for any human being who comes to South Africa to recognize the difficult history and to recognize the difficult road that most of the people have to walk in this country, to recognize the long walk to economic freedom and to be a part of it, which is what Reggae for Water is. And it is in that capacity that I am greeting you this morning and hoping that you have time in your busy schedule to watch this video. I would like to let you know that your work has been a direct influence on the work that I'm doing now. That my walk from Cape Town to Cairo is a direct response to your appeal, you together with other African leaders. Way back in July 2001, you put together NEPAD, and in October 2001, you issued the manifesto. And I had a chance to read that manifesto in 2004. It came into my hands in a very indirect way because in 2002, we got, as Malawians living in London at the time, we got involved with trying to be proactive against hunger. If you remember, there was a serious hunger threat in Malawi in 2001 and 2002, and right through 2003, the threat to food security in several African countries, in Southern Africa, in Eastern Africa, and in West Africa as well, was pretty great. Up to 13 million people faced the possibility of famine, which put me in a position where I had to put all my ambitions as a musician aside and to focus on being proactive for the good of our people. And in that process and in meeting different people, I came across the manifesto, the NEPAD manifesto. And of course I read it, and chapter 4, which is an appeal to African people, appealed directly to me and to my person. It is the sum of who I am. It is the essence of who I am. So I shall just read 2 paragraphs from chapter 4, which triggered which triggered this initiative. 56 says, "We are therefore asking the African peoples to take up the challenge of mobilizing in support of the implementation of this initiative by setting up at all levels structures for organization, mobilization, and action." 57 says, "The leaders of the continent are aware of the fact that the true genius of a people is measured by its capacity for bold and imaginative thinking and its determination in support of its own development." Now this is what hooked me, and to have access to the leaders in the form of the leaders asking us to come on board as people and being given this platform was having the gates opened. And I, of course, walked through and continue to walk through. And that's what this presentation is. It is very much a thanksgiving for the foresight and the insight of Your Excellency by setting that up, and it is very much a hope of being involved in the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, and the Thabo Mbeki Foundation being involved in my work, because the philosophical framework and underpinning of my project is very important to me as a Rastaman. The values and the standards and the focus of Rastafari must be upheld. Within that context, it was a bit of a surprise for me to see that Prime Minister Tony Blair set up the Africa Commission at the time, and for me, the NEPAD document was complete, and it really was an issue of all powers that be in the world to come on board within the framework that was laid forth by the NEPAD document. So I would just like to assure you that the idea of the African Renaissance, the seed that was sown then, was not sown in vain, that there are people in this world who will not criticize for the sake of criticizing, but will take the words for what the words are worth and will act upon the words. And I can assure you that the seed that was planted then is blossoming into this great tree that is Reggae for Water, Cape Town to Cairo by foot, which stands up for the rights of each creature, every creature on this planet. Has the right to clean water, and that's what the work is about. The efforts that I've been dedicated to for the last 10 years have evolved into a product, and that product is called Comprehensive Corporate Social Responsibility. I know that the president is very much aware of the influence of the corporates in our lives, politically, economically, and of course culturally and environmentally, which is a big issue, of course. And I am sure that the president will agree with me when I say that I don't believe that corporates should define their own corporate social responsibility. That corporate social responsibility is something that we, the people, should define, because that is our democratic right into the activities of the corporates that make profits off of our very lives and every aspect of our lives. So, comprehensive corporate social responsibility has a lot of innovative aspects to it, and can continue to be innovative and relevant, because the main ingredients in cooking up the innovation comes from understanding the difference between classical economics and neoclassical economics, especially in the area of taxation. What validates taxation, what keeps taxation within the framework of social contract that we all agree to. Speaking about corporates not having the rights to defining the corporate social responsibility, is very much like saying that politicians should not judge court cases, and neither should policemen. There is a very serious reason why there is the separation of powers in those three, which as Rastafari obviously we see as a holy trinity of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. If you look at the legislative powers and the political powers, and which are basically the same regardless. Anyway, Politics is not my main, it's not my forte, but I'm able to see the importance of separating those powers. And you can imagine how greater the scope for corruption would be if those powers were not separated. And that is the reason why I am very much lobbying for greater involvement of the people in defining corporate social responsibility, and that is what the product is called: comprehensive corporate social responsibility, Your Excellency. I think I have said what I want to say. I have thanked you, but I have not thanked you for the thing that has brought even greater joy to my heart and has convinced me that I was not wrong in responding to your appeal at that time, and why you continue to be a shining light to myself. I would like to let you know that I actually mention you in one of my songs. It's called Cyber Rootsman, where I would love to have a meeting with Mr. Mbeki, Mr. President. So you are eternalized in my music and from an album which shall come forth called King of Africa. But now it is mainly because of your effort to honor the real King of Africa, the real architect of Africa development, our father, Emperor Haile Selassie. Your efforts in Addis Ababa to have a statue of His Majesty erected for his contribution to African development and global development is something that all we reggae people will thank you. Through this speech, we are gathering all the brothers to be part of Reggae for Water, all successful musicians and all struggling musicians, and all reggae nations and all Rasta nations across all colors, across all continents, and honoring the man who says that Africa awaits its creators has definitely been one of the things I said, you know, regardless of what happens, I must make this video and make sure that President Thabo Mbeki should know that he is appreciated and that all his efforts are appreciated. So that's what it is about. And of course, we also honor your predecessor, Nelson Mandela. And I mention him in order to make clear that just like Nelson Mandela, there are things in my life that I am willing to live for, likewise willing to die for. The poverty that I see around me, everywhere I go, the difference between the people, the turmoil in the people's mind, the results of socioeconomic problems, the desperation, the falling apart of society. These are an eyesore, they're a heartache, and I don't have a choice but to stand up for trying to reverse them, to change them. And walking for water is my method. And not walking is not an option. Not doing something is not an option. Being afraid of death is not an option. Being afraid of anything that would stop me from walking is not an option. I can only pray and hope for your response and your protection as I walk through South Africa, and that will translate to protection in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in Malawi, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, and Egypt, and the rest of the world. my president, I would like to thank you so much for listening.